Welcome back to This Week in Indian Hill Braves Athletics here on IndianHillBraves.org and ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports. I'm Jason Griefer. Once again, we're joined by Indian Hill AD Brian Phelps. And Brian, let's jump right in and let's start in the pool. The West Claremont Diving Classic over the weekend. Your team was there. Pretty big meet. A lot of really good programs show up there, and a couple of really good results there, both on the boys and the girls side.
Yeah, senior on the boys' side, Ethan Morris finished 12th. Did a great job. We expect a lot out of him, and hopefully he'll be making his way to the state tournament when that time comes. And on the girls' side, Maggie Overberg finished top 25. She made it to the finals, and I think finished 22nd overall. So exciting. We have a handful of girls that are good divers, and we have a chance to dive deep into the season. We'll see how it goes.
Let's go to the swim teams, and we saw them this past week compete at the Marymount Invite, and a really strong performance for both the boys and the girls. A lot of first place finishers there in a lot of different distances there as well. How did they feel coming out of that with just a really strong overall performance for both the boys and the girls?
Yeah, both our boys and girls team is very strong. Marymount's girls have really been top team around here for a long time, and we were really close. So I think that gave our girls some confidence, and our boys, as I mentioned, previously, are really strong, and they're going to have some really nice performances. And we didn't have our full team there, so swimming is a lot of fun for us here at Indian Hill, and we expect a lot of things out of the boys and girls side for sure.
One I want to give a special mention to here for the boys, Gabe Yin wins two individual events, the 100 butterfly, the 200 free, and then as part of the team win in the 200 medley. He was a focus of the spotlight for Indian Hill this week. Really good results from him and at different distances. And a lot of folks don't understand how difficult that is to not only change distances, but change the different types of swim styles you have to go through with the butterfly, the freestyle, and then the medley.
Yeah, he's strong, and it was a great performance, no doubt. And it looked like he felt really good about it. I had a chance to chat with him a couple times getting out of the pool, and just kind of a smile on his face, just did his thing, and it'll be fun the next few weeks.
And he's certainly carrying good momentum into the next few weeks as well. Let's move on. Let's talk about a young lady we talked about specifically last week, and that's your gymnast, Raylan Coward. Let's talk about her again because she finished third at the CD Cup. We talked about that last week. Apparently that wasn't good enough. So let's go to the Turpin Invite. She finishes second overall. And looking at the individual events here, she finishes second on the bars, second on the beam, second on the floor, and I think top 12 in the vault there. Pretty darn strong showing once again from her.
Yeah, she's something. And, for her to really kind of just fall into our lap really as a program builder for that program, it's great to inherit someone that has already been so strong, want to compete for your school. And now we're just trying to support her however we can. And again, another opportunity to go deep in the tournament and hopefully be a state qualifier and do well. So we'll see how that ends up.
Does she feel like she has the ability to qualify for state?
I think there's no doubt about it. When she decided that she wanted to do gymnastics in high school, her goal is, she knew that she's at that level, and she wanted to see how well she could do at this state level at that type of competition. So a lot of confidence with her, and we have confidence with her as well. I mean, it's going to be fun. She's already pulling off some pretty nice performances, and she's good. She's really good. So, we'll see what happens there too.
And she's spearheading an up and coming program in Indian Hill for sure. Another program that's kind of up and coming is your indoor track team, and they were in action this past weekend. Went north up to Youngstown State. And looking at some of the results, and pretty good showing for your team. We have finished fifth in the 4x800 on the boys' side. Megan O'Brien finishes ninth in the 800-meter individual run. And then Hayden Withers apparently has some kind of stamina that nobody else knows, because he set a school indoor record in the 3,200-meter run, which I don't even know how far distance is. Sounds like it's close to a marathon to me. But pretty strong showing across the board for both the boys and the girls individually and as teams.
Yeah, and for indoor track, it really ends up being more of a club sport. So for these kids to want to do this, just kind of as an extra in preparation for the spring track meet, is just a credit to not only of our kids but our coaches. It's a full day. Youngstown State was a nice long drive. They were here, as the sun was coming up and getting back as late into the night. So it's really neat to see the dedication that our kids have to that program and our coaches, and to go up to a really neat facility and perform well is just kind of the bonus.
And a really strong showing. Is that what's the next step for the indoor track team at this point? Has that been fleshed out?
Yeah, they're going up to Spire, I think, up north, close to like Mentor. So another long trip, and there's only so many meets, so many opportunities. A lot of them seem to be up north, so they have that on the schedule coming up soon. So that's next for them.
Let's talk about your wrestling team. And we talked last week a little bit about hosting several teams together at Indian Hill, and the challenges that kind of go into that. And you wound up doing it this past weekend, hosting a whole host of other schools, several coming up from Kentucky to compete there at Indian Hill. And I'm looking on your Twitter feed, and I'm seeing a lot of pins. I'm seeing a lot of wins across the board, varying weight classes against different schools. Didn't really seem to matter. Your guys were coming out there and just racking up the points, racking up the pins, and whatnot there. First of all, how did that overall, the operation go of the event for you and your staff? And then how did you see the wrestlers perform, and how did they feel coming out of that event?
I think we really pulled off a nice meet. So we had 5 total schools, and the reason we had 5, which it sounds like a lot, and we had a good handful of wrestlers here, we really needed to invite enough teams to make sure all of our kids and all the kids here had enough matches. So some of the teams were smaller than others, but we did have 5 total, including us. Logistically, what made it tough is we didn't allow parents. We had a handful of our parents here, but they really were the ones working the event for us at the table, and doing all the kinds of things that you need for a wrestling meet. But we provided a live stream, so we took a little bit of heat from that, and understand it. We get it, but for us to pull off a successful meet, that's the way we had to do it. The way we organized was we had each team in the bleachers so they could spread out, and we're not using the locker rooms and their gear. So even though we have a pretty big arena here in our gym, we needed that space to space the teams out. So besides not being able to have parents in the gym, which really is tough, we want that to happen. Besides that, we think it was a great meet logistically. From my coach did most of the work, all the setup, all the organization. It was a chance for me really just to enjoy the meet, because he did all the work. And our top kids especially perform really well. And I think we had some kids that are younger that also had some wins and nice matches, and gave them some confidence. But our top kids are good, and excited to be able to see them wrestle some of the best wrestlers in the tri-state area. Harris Foad comes to mind, of just really a dominating performance for the day, and beating one of the top wrestlers in Kentucky. So, those are confidence builders. We haven't been able to wrestle much. We've started late, as we all know, and that was only our second opportunity to meet. We're not having a lot of matches before the sectional tournament starts. So we have to be very strategic of who we wrestle when, and still be prepared for the tournament.
One thing I want to circle back to when you were talking about the operation of the overall event is getting parents to come in and help run the event for you. How big is that for you as an athletic director, to know that you have parents within your community who, yes, they want to be there and cheer things on, but when push comes to shove, you can call on them and they'll be willing to come in and pitch in and help out wherever they can?
Yeah, no doubt about it. We have some of our parents are really dedicated, especially to the wrestling program. And we find that across the board. There's a passion that lives in our parents, that when their kids are involved, they want to try to help make it the best experience possible. And, we really can't run things the way that we do without the help. And Saturday was just an example of that. A lot of T's to cross and I's to dot, and they help pull it off. I don't know how we could have pulled it off without them chipping in and helping make it a great invitational.
Let's move on to the hardwood, and let's start with the girls basketball team, who saw its 22-game CHL win streak come to an end against Marymount, who's proven to be one of the best defensive teams in the area. They're giving up just about 25 points per game in league play. That's no fluke at this point. But I want to talk more about your team. Again, we're just getting the season going. They're only 5 games in now, but right now we're in kind of a bit of a tough spot offensively. The last 2 games scored just 42 points in those 2 games combined, and losses to two good teams in Milford and Marymount. In those results, is there a concern right now within the coaching staff about the offense, or is that more chalked up to the fact that you've just played 2 really good defensive teams back to back, and they caught you on nights when shots just aren't falling?
Yeah, it's a combination of a few things. I think what you said is exactly right. Both very quality teams. We need to get back to full strength. We're at a point where we don't have our full team right now. And we knew those are the kinds of things that we were going to deal with this season. Some teams have been hit differently than others. And right now for girls basketball, we're in that situation right now where we don't have everybody. And unfortunately, when that happens, that means we don't have them for a while, for
Yeah.
a couple of weeks kind of thing. So, it's just we knew that's the season it's gonna be. It's still kind of a no excuses. You play with who you have and when you have them, and do the best that you can. And that hit at a tough time. Again, 2 good teams that we played, no doubt. We just need to get back at it and play with who we have. And we have a couple games this week that will be challenges for us, and we'll see Marymount again next Wednesday. So we have a 3-game stretch that we know we're going to have to play well and see what happens. But we're still really confident with our team. We have some really good players. We have some really good coaches, and we're just going to keep getting after it. It's going to be a long season in a short amount of time, and we're going to do the best we can.
To that point, with your Indian Hill waiting until January to start its athletic season now, and seeing how the schedule's coming out, you've got a lot of games here in a very short period of time to get ready for an eventual postseason play there. How much, even now, 5 games in, are the coaches talking to the girls about rest and recovery in between games? Because you're not going to have a lot of days off between now and the end of the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky one, right? Because you have things to work on. You want to get certain things in, and you're probably a little more vanilla than you want to be at this point. But practices are a little shorter maybe, or not as intense, because you're right, you're trying to rest legs. So that's the chore of the coaching staff, to try to balance, to get offenses or defenses put in, or new looks and shots up, but not wear the girls out too. It's a tough situation. And this is, like everyone else, but I feel like us, as much as anyone with the late start, our coaches are earning their money. There's no doubt. They're being worked really hard. I know everyone's stressed, and I'm just glad we have who we have, and we trust them to make it as good as it can be.
Let's move over to the boys' side, and a really good start to the season for your boys, especially on the defensive side. You're 3-0 on the year, 2-0 in the league, but the 3 games you've given up 36, 39, and 38 points. That's going to win you a lot of ball games, especially in a CHL where it seems like the last number of years defense has ruled the day, and who can give you the best defensive effort night in, night out is generally going to rise to the top of the league. Interesting stretch coming up here for your team. You've got the league, of course, but you've also got some non-conference games mixed in there as well, at least scheduled at this point here. We see Covington Catholic is on the schedule for your team, and for anybody Indian Hill fans who don't know, Covington Catholic is a perennial state power in Kentucky. They may win the state title in Kentucky this year. They're just that good every year. How important was it in putting a schedule together to get some tests, non-conference tests in there, like a Covington Catholic, like an Aiken who's coming up down the road?
And early in the season, we were scheduled to play St. Xavier, and that's the schedule. Those are the kinds of schedules that we have. West Claremont coming up. Our coach Tim Birch wants to play the best teams around. He feels like that helps prepare our kids that the best that he can for the tournament. So it's a good mix of our league, which is really good. And every year we have those tough matchups that seem to never go away. But no, that's the kind of schedule he wants, and we're going to try to play those kind of games every year, even in a year like this year. He was very adamant of trying to keep those schools on the schedule and get those games in, if at all possible. And hopefully we can go to CovCath and have a good effort, and that'll help us go into the Madeira and Taylor game that's coming up as CHL games.
One of the things I've also noticed in seeing through 3 games with your team is the balance that you have. There's not, don't necessarily look at this and say, okay, this is the alpha, the 1A guy. Other teams definitely have to stop there. Mateo Lopez, Ty Thornton, Luke Robinson, down the line, you've got so many guys who can contribute on a night to night basis. How big is that going to be going forward in the CHL specifically, when you compare to a team like a Wyoming, where everybody knows Isaiah Walker is the man there at Wyoming, but your team may be a little more difficult to scout for because there's not seemingly one guy that leaps off the page and says, okay, this is the guy we have to stop if we're going to beat Indian Hill.
Yeah. Another kid that's a senior, Wyatt Walks, I think is in that same mix of, if you're going to double team somebody, there are 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 other options on the floor. So, no, it's a fun, balanced team. I mean, they are a neat team to watch. Athletic, big, can shoot the ball. So really do a little bit of everything. And, you're right. It's not a team where we're trying to get 35 points out of one kid and we're going to have to, win only when he's on. But the ball is shared really well. And it's great. I don't know the league that well yet, being new to this league and just coming back to Cincinnati, but I'm excited to see how the other teams match up. Mariemont's a good team. That was a really good win for us. And, they have some really nice players over there. So we'll see. It's going to be fun seeing what kind of effort we can give CovCath and then getting right back into the league.
One of the things too, and notice that as I'm looking further into the numbers with this team, again, so through 3 games, so it's a small sample size, but your team right now is plus 63 on the glass. That can erase a lot of difficult nights shooting the ball, which your team hasn't had at this point. That's a good thing. But that's a really big thing, especially early on, to set the tone going forward into the league, that they're going to have to also deal with a team that's balanced scoring wise. But if they miss shots, if your team's missing shots, a lot of guys are willing to go crash the glass for those second chance opportunities.
And that's definitely what we've seen. We've got our big boys that do the kind of big boy rebounding, but we've got the guard type that are just crashing the boards and getting up high and athletic and you're right. I mean, when a shot goes up, I think the expectation is it's going in, but at least 4 of those guys are almost hoping it doesn't go in so they can snatch the rebound and get the putback. But no, it's a fun athletic team, and the kids seem to really, for the late start, seem to be gelled pretty well, and they like each other, and kind of all just makes it that much more fun. So I hope that we can stay healthy as we all do, and see what the CHL looks like and the tournament after that.
Well, so far so good for your boys basketball team. As we said, 3-0 on the year, 2-0 on the CHL. Big out of conference game and out of state game now with Covington Catholic coming up there as well. We'll see how they do there, but nevertheless, not a bad way to start the season overall, and a really strong week here at Indian Hill High School. Brian, appreciate some of your time to join us here to talk about it.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm excited to see how the rest of this week goes, and we'll talk next week.
That is Athletic Director Brian Phelps of Indian Hill High School joining us for This Week in Indian Hill Braves Athletics on IndianHillBraves.org and ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.